Hello, welcome. Today I want to have a complete review over past simple. Okay, so let's get started. When we want to talk about past simple, I usually like to start with the verb. Okay, so if you look at here, first of all, we have verb. Now in English, for past simple, we usually have two sorts of verbs. The first one that we want to start with is be verbs. Yes. So what are the be verbs? We usually say that the be verbs are am, is, and are. Okay, so am, is, are the present form of the verb be. What are the past forms of them? Past form of the verb be for these two was, for this one, were. Right. So we have the verb is be, and when we say be, we mean am, is, are. And the past form of am and is was, and the past form of are is were. Okay, now let's make some questions and sentences with these verbs. Perfect. So let's start with a positive sentence. A present positive sentence. Not past, present. So I say I'm a student. This is a positive sentence, which is present. Now in this sentence, I have am, which is this one. And what is this? What is am in the sentence? It's the verb. And what is the subject? I. So I have subject plus verb. Now, I want to change this to past form. So the subject is the same. Let me just draw a line here. Okay. So I have I. What is the past of am? Past of am is was. So I say I was a student in, let's say, 2018. Good. Now, what if I want to change the subject? Change the subject from I to he. Again, because usually we say for present, we say he is. So the past of is, was. So again for he, we say he was a student in 2018. What if I want to change it to you? Now, for you, we usually for present form, we say you are. The past of are, were. So I say you were a student in 2018. So far, these have been the positive sentences. Now I want to make a negative sentence, right? So in the present form, I'm a student. What is the negative? I'm not a student. Very good. So now I want to make the negative in the past form. So what do I say? I. Here we had subject, verb, and then not. So the same here. Subject. What is the verb? Was. I was. I was. What is the negative? What makes it negative? Not. So I make it shorter and I write I wasn't a student in 2018. Good. If you want to change it for you just add not here. So you say you weren't a student in 2018. Let me write that. You weren't a student in 2018. Good. So far, so good. Positive, negative in past with the verb be. Was, were. Good. Now I want to make some questions. Let me scroll down a bit. Okay. Let's make some questions. Alright, I want to make the yes-no question. Now, what do? The positive sentence, just change the place of these two with each other. And then you very simply, you have was I a student in 2018? What is the answer? Yes, you were. No, you weren't. Exactly. So, because with you we say were, but with I we say was. Remember? So very quickly, with I, she, he, and it, use was, you, we, they, use were in the past form. Okay. So here we have verb, subject. So this was the yes-no question. How about if I want to make a question with the WH question? First of all, before we continue, what were the WH question words? Do you remember? Words like what, when, where, and a few more. So, now I want to make a question with a WH word. So I write the WH word first. I say where. I just bring the WH word, just this, to the beginning of the yes-no question. And then my question is a WH question word. So I say where you yesterday? Where were you yesterday? And then you say I was at the beach. Sorry for my handwriting. I was at the beach. Okay. So here we have WH question word, then we have verb, then we have subject. Cool. So so far we have talked about so far we have talked about past simple with the verb be. Now I want to talk about, I have to go really a little bit down so I have enough space. Alright, so one form of the verb is be, another form, the verbs that are not be. Every other verb, so the verbs be are these ones, am, is, are, was, were. Every other verb is here. Good. Now again, in this part, when we have verbs that are not be, we have two groups. The first one, we call them regular verbs. What does that mean? Let's zoom in on that. Okay, so we have regular verbs. Now, what are the regular verbs? Simply, regular verbs means that they have rules. They have some rules. Now, for example, and what are those rules? Let's take a look at them. Number one, the present form is, for example, talk. So talk, what is the past form? Past of talk is talked. Let me write that with another color. Talked. So what is the rule here? Plus ed. So this is the rule. If we add ed to the verb, we have the past form. Now, rule number 2. If we have, look at this verb, move. We have one E at the end of the verb. When we have one E at the end of the verb, we don't add another E. We just add D. So the past form of move is moved. Exactly. Number 3, rule number 3. When we have Y at the end of the verb, for example, look at here, Y. Alright, before we continue, I have to tell you something else. Very quickly. Look at here. So we have two groups of letters. Vowels. What are the vowels? A, E, I, O, U. These are vowels. Now another group is consonants. The other group is consonants. What are the consonants? Every other letter. B, D, C, K, G, H, and it goes on. L, M, P, Q, all of them are consonants. Okay, so let's get back to the one that we were talking about before. So here, now we were looking at the word study. Now the last letter is Y. Now look at the letter before that, D. D is a vowel or a consonant? It's a consonant. So when you have a consonant plus Y, what do? We change Y to I and then add ed. So we write the past form is study. We have y here. We change y to I, and then we add ed. So the past form of study is studied. But if we don't have a consonant before y, we don't change it. For example, we don't change y, sorry. For example, look at this, stay. We have y, before y we have vowel. What happens here? This is exactly like here, number 1. So we just add ed. Say, stayed. So if we have a vowel plus y, don't need to do anything, just ed. If we have a consonant plus y, y changes to I, and then plus ed. Okay, let me clean this part. Okay. Now, one more, and then the rules are over. Look at this one. Shop. What is the last letter? P. P is vowel or consonant? It's a consonant. Before that, O. It's a vowel. H. Is it a vowel or consonant? Consonant. So you see, at the end of the verb, we have consonant, vowel, consonant. So, not the beginning, at the end of the verb. So when we have consonant, vowel, consonant at the end of the verb, what do? We double the last consonant and then add ed. So what would it be? Shop, double the last consonant, double P, then add ed, shopped. Exactly. So these are the 4 rules for regular verbs. Now, let's talk about their pronunciation. There is something that a lot of students have problems with, and that's how we pronounce them. Okay, so I want to talk about pronunciation now, very quickly. So this part, this ed at the end of the verb, sometimes has the sound of d. Sometimes t. And sometimes id. When do we have the sound of d? When do we have the sound of t? And when do we have the sound of id? Let's start with the last one. If your verb finishes with t or d, one of these two. If the verb finishes with in t or d, we have this sound. For example, look at this word, visit. What is the past form? How do we write it? Rule number 1. Add ed. Now, how do we pronounce it? This is visit, visited. So we add the sound id. Say visited. Or look at this one. Attend. The past form, attended. Attended. Very good. So we have T or D, we have the sound of it. The next one is when we have the sound of T. This one, okay, for this one, if the verb finishes with one of these letters, we have this sound. For example, P, F, K, S, SH, CH, or TH. For example, shop. What is the past? Double the last P plus ED. And when we want to say it, listen, we say shop, shopped. Or for example, walk, walked. Work, worked. Miss, missed. Very good. Now, what verbs do they have the sound of de? Every other verb, if it's not here, then it's here. Like what? Like play. We say played. Like the sound, like the verb, for example, study. What is the past form? Studied. So we have study, and then we add the sound of de, say studied. Good. So this is about pronunciation. Be careful about this, because a lot of students, they use this form a lot, which is not correct all the time. Okay, now let's make some sentences. Let's start with positive sentence. Now, a positive sentence, for example, I studied math yesterday. Let me just fix this so we have more space. Okay, so I studied math yesterday. So as you can see, we have subject, we have verb, but the verb is the verb is in past form. Now, what if I want to change this to negative? Before that, remember, if you change the subject to any other pronoun, the verb is the same. So you say, I studied, he studied, we studied. The verb does not change. So now let's change this to a negative sentence. Now here, I can you think what is the negative of this sentence? I studied math yesterday. We know that for negative we need the word not. So it should be not, and there should be the verb study. But how can I use that? So I say I didn't study. So this is the correct sentence. Say, I didn't study. Now let's take a closer look at it. What is I in the sentence? Subject. Good. What is the verb? Study. What is this? Not. What is did? Did is helping verb. Now, hang on a sec. We have helping verb here. We have the helping verb here. But what about helping verb for here? Do you remember in these sentences, we didn't have helping verb. That's correct. So for be verbs, helping verb is not needed. We don't need helping verb. If the verb is be, am is are, was were, we don't need helping verb. If the verb is not be, helping verb is needed. We need helping verb. What is a helping verb? For past simple, helping verb is did. Very good. Helping verb is did. So now, let's go back. So, the negative, I didn't study math yesterday. But one more question. Here, my verb is in past form. What happened here? This is in present form. Let me write that with green. Here, the verb is in present form. I didn't say studied. Why not? Because did is the past form. So the present form is do, the past form is did. Present, past. So the past form is did. So did is past. Study again, past. Two past forms in one sentence? No. So when we have did, because did is already past, the verb goes into present form. We don't use two past forms in one sentence. Excellent. Now let's talk about yes-no question. Now, for yes-no question, what do? First, we need the, let me write it here, helping verb. Then we need the subject, and then we need the verb. So, that means we change these two, and we don't need not in the question anymore. So we say, did you, she, they study math yesterday? Did you study math yesterday? Yes, because it's asking you, so you're talking about yourself. You say, yes, I did. Or no, I didn't. Very good. So one more time. We have helping verb, subject, and verb. Now I want to write the WH question word. WH question. So first, yes, I gave you the way. First we write WH question word. Then we have subject. No, that's not right. Then we have helping verb. Then we have subject. and then the verb. Let's see if that works. Okay, for example, do you remember the WH question words? Like what, where, when. So I say what. Okay. Helping verb, did. Did. Subject, you. Verb, do. Yesterday. What did you do yesterday? And you answer, I played video games. Or another example. Say, where did you stay last night? So what do you say? I stayed at a hotel. Good. So these are the WH questions. So we talked about, let's have a review of what we have done so far. Okay, so we are talking about past simple. We talked and we said if the verb is be, we use am, is, are, the verb be, and then the past is was, were. And then we said that if we want to make the past tense, these are the example sentences that you can use. And then we said if the verb is not be, we have two options. The first option, regular verbs. They have rule, 4 rules, ed plus d, y changes to I, or double the last consonant. We talked about the pronunciation and we made some sentences. Now let's talk about the second option here. So I said that if the verb is not be, there are two options. So the first one was regular verbs. The second one is irregular verbs. What are the irregular verbs, or what does it mean? It means rules. There are no rules. No rules about irregular verbs. What does that mean? It means that when you want to make a past form, for example, of present and past. So when you want to make the past form of these verbs, there are no rules. You have to remember them. For example, go. What is the past of go? Went. Past of do? Did. Leave, left. Have, had. There are a lot of these. Eat, ate. Sleep, slept. For a complete list of these, you can just Google irregular verbs or irregular verb list. Or if you have a course book, at the end of the course book, you usually have the list of irregular verbs. Now, with these irregular verbs, you can easily make sentences or questions in the past tense. And the way to make sentences is exactly the same as here. So, for example, sentences with these verbs or with one of them. Positive, I I went to the school yesterday. Negative. Do you remember? We need helping verb here. I did. Very good. I did not, or I didn't. I didn't went, or I didn't go. This is past, not to past. So I didn't go to school, or to the school yesterday. Question. Yes, no. Did you go to school yesterday? The answer, yes, I did. No, I didn't. WH question. Where did you go? Where did you go yesterday? I went to school yesterday. We can make sentences with all of these. Okay, let's have a look at everything that we talked about so far. So this is everything you need to know about past simple. So yeah, so we have the verbs be. If they are not be, we have regular verbs, and we have irregular verbs. Thank you very much.